This is Mrs. Murphy here from Weber State University, and I wanted to show you some examples of object-oriented style coding. And so I have coded for you a digipet. I'm not sure if you remember from your youth those Tamagotchis where you had to try and keep them alive. So this is my kind of take on it. It's a little digipet, and once you get it running, you press the F key on the keyboard to feed your digipet, and the P will let you play with it to make him happy, and the M, can't remember what M does, makes him healthy, medicates him, that's right. So that's kind of how the game works. And so there's two files to get this to work. So we're going to download both of these two files. And they have to be downloaded into the same exact directory, otherwise it won't work. So for this purpose, I'm just going to keep them in the downloads file. And I'm going to open them up in JGrasp. So here now I have both my digipet and my digipet and just plain old digipet, and we'll talk about the difference between those. Okay, so in order to get this to work, you first have to compile the digipet class. So I'm going to click on the little plus sign instead of the run sign. This file won't actually run because this is going to be this is our object. Now the mydigipet.java, this is kind of the driver program. This is where the program begins. This is just our window.java that's been coded to be our little Tamagotchi, our little digipet. So I'm going to run this just so you can kind of see how this works. And so here I have my little digipet. Wasn't very good with the graphics. I'm going to feed him. He's not going to be hungry. I'm going to medicate him. I'm going to pet him. And eventually he's going to, get old enough that he's not going to live anymore, especially if I start ignoring him like I'm doing right now. Oh, come on. You got to see this. There he goes. So there's my program. He lived to age 20. Okay, so let's kind of show you how this works. I'm going to start off with the digipet class. In the digipet class, we talked about object-oriented programming. Well, our digipet is the object in our program. And so we have a couple of attributes and we have a couple of behaviors. Now, the attributes are our private variables. Well, he's got health, happiness, hunger, and we saw those little status bars on our window. He's got an age. Now, the very first thing we do when we set up our digipet is we create what's called a constructor. And this is our constructor. In this file it is commented, it tells us. But another way you can tell it's your constructor is because it has the same name as the class. And so we know that this is the constructor. And all this does is sets up any defaults we have. In this case, it sets up his health, his happiness, his hunger, his age. Now here's an example of an accessor, a getter. And all this is doing is returning back his age. Here's a getter for his happiness. It's returning back his happiness. It does a couple of checks to make sure it's between 0 and 100. Same thing with get hunger. There's another accessor, and get health. Okay, the next one I wanted to show you is this is a behavior. When our digipet is going to become older, his happiness is going to go down a little bit, his hunger is going to go up a little bit, his health is going to become less healthy as he ages. And so make older is an example of a method, but this is the particular type of method it's one of his behaviors. Okay, so here's another one. Here's another action. This one lets you pet him. By petting him, it makes him happy. Here's another behavior method. This is feed. Now, if you look in these behavior methods, I have a couple of local variables. In this case, in pet, I have int happy change. This is how much his happiness is going to change based upon how much I'm going to pet him. And you can tell it's a local variable because it has int right inside the method. So the only place I can use this happy change is between these brackets right here. And now the reason it's a local variable is because that's the only place I really need to use it. It's not really one of his attributes, so I don't want to put it as a private variable up at the top. Okay, so this is kind of how our class is set up. Now I'm going to show you my digipet, the driver program, our window.java. So on this page, once you get the object coded, object-oriented programming is super, super easy because all you have to do is activate the behaviors when you want them. So here's an example. Here I'm going to instantiate my digipet. And all I'm doing is creating my digipet as a new digipet. The keyword new is what actually creates it, what instantiates it. In my draw, I have a pet.draw. Now someplace in our digipet we probably have some sort of draw method. So there's our draw method in digipet. I'm going back here. So this is the method call that activates that code to draw. And so that's why he shows up. Okay, in our key pressed, I'm using another one of the methods. There's going to be an is alive in our digipet that we coded. Let's see if we can find it. There he is. If his health is greater than 0, if his hunger is less than the max, if his happiness is greater than 0, then yes, he's alive. Otherwise, he has passed on to the great digipet and beyond. So here, this is just invoking that method. Then I have my key presses. And this is kind of how we do a key code. It says each key on the keyboard has a particular code, and they correlate with VK underscore up for the up arrow key. In this case, VKF for the F arrow key, the F key, and the M key, and the P key. So if they hit the F key, I'm going to feed the digipet. If they hit the M, I'm going to medicate him. If they hit the P, I'm going to pet him. That will make him happy. Now I have a timer, and all my timer is doing is making my pet older. That way I have to keep pressing the keys to keep him alive. Okay, so this file is super heavily commented, and I've just gone through everything, all of the things you might need to know about this. I'm going to see if you can do the same on the Whack-A-Mole class. So the Whack-A-Mole, it's going to have a driver program. Let's take you back here. To get this one working, you'll download both files, put them in the same directory. You'll compile the mole first. Remember, compile was just the green plus sign. And then you'll download the Whack-A-Mole and run it. And you'll be able to play a little game of Whack-A-Mole. And as you're doing that, you're going to go through and kind of analyze some of the code. You're going to find 2 class variables in the mole class. You can find a local variable. Find the constructor. And this is all things I've just talked about in the digipet class. Let's see if you can kind of locate them and find them in the mole class. All right, good luck with that.